Alright, so it's currently 3 a.m. Top of the hour. Coming at you. And I am starting to lift off. Wow. Let me restart the program and restart the liftoff. Alright, now I'm starting to lift off. Alright, so currently I have about 700,000 guitar profiles generated by this program within the past week. I don't know, it's around 100,000 per 8 hours or so, give or take. I have about 900,000 to go, maybe another week. This is Song Creator version 0.4Z alpha. And what that means is I would demo it, but my shoulder's thrown out. I have 1.6 million plus 1.2 thousand folders and subfolders of E standard, 2 keys and 2 scales. And this liftoff functionality here is going through every folder and just determining what files to create, basically, without getting too complex. And it takes some time because as a variable and going through 1.6 million plus folders, and it'll get there in a minute or however long. Once it's going, you just leave it going. You just come back. So I have to try to pick out songs of these 1.6 million and try to get 20 for an album, my third album. That's the goal. Also, I'm brainstorming, there it goes. I'm brainstorming the next version of the Song Creator. Different things to. But before I iterate the next version, I just want to get 1.6 million folders and guitar profiles generated for this Song Creator version 0.4Z alpha. And we'll go from there after I generate. And I made a lot of progress resolving the bugs, because it was fine, generating one song after another, and I would counter error here and there. But when I generate 100,000 in sitting session, I really started to encounter the errors. This is a big process the program is going through, and for the millionth time, the source code is private. So every description I mention of the source code is just through voice, not sharing the source code at the moment. The source code I've been working on since October of 2021. And I have GitHub branches of the dates where I push commits and I could compare and contrast, and so many things going on in this project. And I hope it comes off in these sessions where there's no way I could record these things without this project, because I'm tired of Rocksmith. Rocksmith is good to an extent, but you gotta move on. Hold on. So I started Rocksmith in 2011. No, I started it on the PlayStation or the Xbox. I think I started the PlayStation 3 first, actually, then Xbox. Give me a second. dry eyes. Just trying to. But other than that, um, this project, like I said, I've been working on it since October 2021. I program for hours, most in some cases. You know, sometimes I have to do a lot of writing, and you know that the I don't know if you're aware, this GitHub Copilot thing. It's pretty useful because I have a lot of variables and really a lot of variables, like a lot of variables, hundreds of variables, and the variables are the interval names are very formulaic, and with formulaic intervals, or sorry, with formulaic, um, I can't read without glasses. This GitHub Copilot stuff. Oh, I gotta squint. Yeah, yeah, the GitHub Copilot stuff. With my variables, like formulaic variables, like for example, I have a variable for every interval, and like augmented eighth is a A8 variable, and I don't remember them all in orders, all the different intervals. It's like over 20 for some. It's like augmented eighths, diminished sevenths, minor sevenths, major sevenths, augmented, diminished units, all those different types based on whatever. And um, the Copilot AI stuff, um, it helps with that. As smart as it is, it's dumb, and you really gotta really have to guide it. But in the cases where it is useful, it is really useful because it follows a pattern in the code. Like, say you have a variable up top and a variable. Well, let's just say you have two variables, and sequentially one variable and another variable in the code, and then like you just tell the Copilot like you don't tell it like you just walk it in that direction of like typing in that um, pattern. Like if you're following one variable to two variable, then you're writing a third. It's like it kind of fills in the same pattern up above it um, to an extent. That's when it's useful, anyways. The useful part of it, um, because like, and the uses where I had it, where it really helped me, the GitHub Copilot, make it write in Python here, is when a whole bunch of the GUI stuff, tkinter, on the song creator program, I have a bunch of user inputs, input fields, checkboxes, and all that stuff. And when I wrote in particular the intervals in the GUI and the tkinter, I had to rely on the GitHub Copilot because, like, if I had to write it manually, which I've done before, I don't have a problem writing it manually, but it's just so nice when the GitHub Copilot, like, when it works the way it's supposed to. It is very helpful and it has shortcuts and saves time and it when when it works like, oh wow, I never thought of that, or how to, like, there's a lot of times on programming where like I have the idea of what to write, but implementing it is a whole nother thing. And uh, I don't know if Git Copilot really helps with that much. You kind of have to know programming. I don't know how useful it is in writing code per se as much as it is helping with continuing patterns in the code. Like it's more GitHub Copilot. It's the reason why it's called Copilot and not Pilot. It's not strong enough to be a pilot. It's only strong enough to be a Copilot. The programmer still has to be the pilot and ask the Copilot for assistance for small things, not major. The major things rely on the pilot. Um, so in that aspect, GitHub Copilot AI for helping programming code, it helps me in this project. Um, I was actually surprised, and I'm talking the positives only. I'm not talking the negatives right now. I'm not talking the neutral. There's lots of neutrals and negatives for the GitHub Copilot. But I'm just talking the positive. When it works as expected, when it provides use, when it's useful, when it actually says, wow, you know, I don't have much experience with like, let me see. I'm trying to think of how to word this. When it comes to programming, I've done, programming. I've only done solo projects, not a team project with programming. When it comes to collaboration, it's not a collaboration of, hey, let's work on the same programming project. And the GitHub Copilot is kind of my introduction of collaboration and programming, although it's not exactly collaboration because it's not how you say, what's the word? Sentient. Right? It's just, Copilot is just like algorithm, more or less. But in that aspect, Copilot kind of listens to what it's actually, you know what? When I wrote this liftoff functionality, I did use Copilot a lot. Like what I mean is, because this Copilot stuff, it goes through folders and subfolders and 1.6 million folders. And with the Copilot, I kind of guided it and like, hey, if you, okay, how it works is like, I have a, it creates folders for each tuning. When I click to generate, or when I do lift off, it references the generate, he'll create this guitar profile. And where it creates the guitar profile is based on the three guitar arrangements tuning: lead guitar tuning, rhythm guitar tuning, alt lead guitar tuning. And it's in that file format. So the parent folder is, for example, E standard, E standard, E standard. Okay, that's the parent folder, separated by commas. Then when you go into that tuning, that parent folder, then you're greeted with every key variation from one key to two keys. So for one key, you have 12 variations, obviously. But the two keys, I forget the exact right. It should be to 24, or no, it's more than that, because you have AA, AB, AC. No, no, AA, A sharp, A. What I mean is A, comma, A. That's one folder, subfolder of the tuning folder. Okay, let me start over. You have the tuning folder, right? And then after that, you have all the keys folder, the single key variation, and the two key variation. So tuning folder, key folder, right? So parent folder, subfolder, and then another subfolder. So tuning, key, and then in the key folder is the scale folder. So tuning, key, scale. So let's say E standard, E standard, E standard, key of A, Dorian, right? And that folder, so all the folders are generated. Every key variation and scale for variation for that key. So A sharp, A comma, A sharp, whatever has. So get this, every two key variation has, excuse me, has approximately 11,000. So you have two keys, and of those two keys, you could have two scales. The scale folders for the two keys can have 11,000 variations. So let's say key of A and key of A can have scale of blues and scale of Dorian. And there's just 11,000 variations of how many, altogether 1.6 million files and folders. Just given two keys and two scales. It's a lot. I'm not going to be able to go through all of them in my lifetime. But anyways, here we are, 3 a.m. and I'm going to go to bed. Thank you for my session or listening to my session. Check me out on SoundCloud. Check me out on Apple Music, on Spotify, on YouTube, on Instagram. Just follow my name, Kyle Avent. And yeah, this is session 306. See you at 307.